Welcome back to another Extra Time Football video, and this one's going to be a little bit different. I won't be doing any post-game reaction to any of the games, more so of collection of all game ones for everyone. Now that, last night with Colombia and Uzbekistan concluding the first round for everyone, I want to do a little bit of a recap for everyone, who I see as the favorites, who I see as the weaker ones, including the stronger teams. I'm going to try to go through as many games as possible, but I might miss some games, or I might, just barely glance over some of them. I have seen the majority of the games. I think there's only been like two or so that I haven't truly watched, but let's get into it with the start of it to now. Starting off with day one, Mexico and South Africa faced off. Mexico were the better side. South Africa didn't really show up, or maybe the pressure of the Azteca and the fans. Mexico being home, there was just a little bit too much for them. They couldn't handle it. Mexico only scored two, but I do believe they could have made it even a bigger score line, and I think they should have. Goal difference does play a big factor in group stages of the World Cup. So in my eyes, I think they should have gone for more, but hey, they still got the win. They kept a clean sheet. Unfortunately, to get that send off, but I did like what I saw from them. They looked organized. They looked structured. They pressed when they needed to. They finished the shots when they had the opportunities. And I'm not sure how far they can get in this tournament, but I do see them giving a strong fight to any of the stronger contenders. South Africa, they are, at least from what I saw against Mexico, they weren't the best, but they did play better in the second game. But this is all going off of the first game. South Africa just led a lot to be desired. South Korea and the Czech Republic. Czech Republic scored, and they just went to go play defensive afterwards. South Korea was persistent. They equalized. They got the winning goal afterwards. I was very impressed with what I saw from the Koreans. They pressed really well. They played really well through that right side. Their midfield is impressive. Not many faults that I see in them. I do see them being a strong opponent. I know they're going to give Mexico a strong run for their money in that second game. Maybe they even take out that win. There's that possibility. They're even playing against Mexico in their own home, so there's that possibility for them. Canada and Bosnia. Canada was a persistent team. They were the stronger side throughout the game. Bosnia scored earlier on in the game, I believe in the first 20. They got a header from a corner, and then they just parked the bus the rest of the game. They had several goal line clearances saved against Canada, and Canada was just persistent. I don't see Canada being a true threat in this tournament, but I do see them getting out of the group and maybe winning a knockout game. I see them winning maybe the first knockout game, but I don't see them getting past the round of 16s. Like, that's the furthest I'll see them going. That's if they make it that far, but I did like what I saw from Canada in the first game. I just don't think they have that quality to truly compete. Now, the second game of that night, USA versus Paraguay. I thought Paraguay was going to be better. Paraguay left a lot to be desired. This is, maybe the U.S. made them look bad. Maybe the U.S. were just that good. But I was really, really disappointed with what I saw from Paraguay. U.S., man, that was an asphyxiating game. Like, they did not let Paraguay breathe. They were on them from the moment the ball kicked off to the very end. They just didn't give them spaces. They didn't give them time to breathe. You could tell they were suffocating them. That midfield just did not let the opposition have the ball or take control of anything. The U.S. looked great. Pulisic was dominating that left wing. Balogun was clinical in front of net. He even had a goal that was disallowed. He could have walked away with a hat trick, but he still walked away with the brace. First goal came from an own goal, but the U.S. was going to get that goal regardless. Their pressure was on, and if the U.S. can genuinely play like this against any opponent, I see them making a run. I'm not just talking about, winning the first knockout games. I could see them getting all the way to the quarterfinals at least if they keep playing like this. Obviously, stronger opposition is going to challenge them more, but I can see them making a run if they're going to be playing like this. My first big disappointment of the tournament, Qatar and Switzerland. Terrible game. I don't really want to touch on it again. Switzerland should have capitalized on their chances. Qatar did not play great. They were lucky to get that draw at the end, but overall, this was a result of Switzerland playing with their food. They had the chance. They didn't put them away. It's like they knew they were the better side, and they were basically just jogging, saying, hey, we're the better side. We don't need to try against you guys to win. And that came and bit them again at the end. So the result was deserved because of how poorly they played. Brazil versus Morocco. Morocco had a lot of what that U.S. intensity had in the first couple minutes. Morocco capitalized on it. They got a goal. They were the better team for the majority of the first half when they were playing better. Brazil got that equalizer with Vini. They wanted to show a little bit more promise, but overall, I really wasn't impressed with Brazil throughout this game. I had them top of the group, I believe, in my predictions, but having seen this, I do believe Morocco can top it over them. Now, it's all going to be a matter of who scores more goals against the other positions, because I do see them still getting those wins as they need to get those wins, but I don't see Brazil making a deep run. I think the days of the Brazil of old that we all know and love, the Jogo Bonito, it's dead. We're not going to see that again, and it might be a generation or two before we see Brazil truly compete at the highest stage. But after what I saw in the first game, not impressed at all. Morocco, on the other hand, they did get tired after the first half, but if they can find a way to keep that consistency of that high press, I see them going toe to toe with just about anybody else in this tournament. Again, I could see them making another run, but I don't see them getting to the semis like the last World Cup. If anything, they'll get to the quarters. Haiti, Scotland. Haiti put on a better performance than I thought, and I think they were unlucky to go out with the loss in that game. Scotland, they capitalized on the shot that they had. Obviously, it did come with a little bit of luck as it came off a deflection, but Scotland had some chances too. They did hit the woodwork in the first half, and McTominay came close to scoring early on. Scotland got the win. I guess you could say it was deserving, but if they would have drawn, that would have been equally as deserving as well. Haiti played their game, and Haiti showed that they weren't scared to compete, and I do see them putting up a fight. If Brazil doesn't get their things together in order, I could see Haiti maybe getting a result against them. Australia, Turkey, great game to me. The one of the best games of the World Cup. Turkey were attacking nonstop throughout the whole game. They were persistent. The excitement was there. Australia just defended really, really well. They defended better than anybody probably would have expected. And, the first goal came out of a beautiful counter attack. That couldn't have been finished any better right there. What a way to finish too on that counter. Australia showed that they had the tenacity and the composure to hold that tight line in the back and compete against strong opposition. As long as they stay disciplined and they keep their structure. Maybe they don't beat every team. Maybe they don't get that counter-attacking goal against every other opponent. But I could see them sneaking in a draw against the U.S. possibly if they can keep that back line tight. Again, as I mentioned. But I could see them getting out of this group. I had Turkey and the U.S. going out as 1 and 2. But sometimes starting off on the wrong foot can really throw you off, throw your imbalances off for the rest of the tournament to the point where, Turkey can even struggle to even get out of the group to begin with. I still see them getting out of the group. I still want to say they come out at second, but I wouldn't be surprised if Australia can sneak in that second. Regardless, I still think from this group, we get one of the better third place teams, whether it be Australia or Turkey. But I have no doubt in my mind now after what I saw in game 1 that the U.S. is topping this group. Germany, Curaçao. Not much more to say other than 7-1. The Germans did what they had to do. They took advantage of the weaker opposition. They got the goals that they needed. They racked up their goal difference because that is very important. They got the job done. I would have loved to see a little bit more from them as far as like their style of play. I didn't think they were the most convincing, but they got the job done. They won 7-1, a thrashing of Curaçao. But Curaçao got their first World Cup goal, and that meant a lot to the people. And I know they're just happy to be here. Curaçao, more than likely, bottom of the group, but good win for Germany. Netherlands and Japan turned out to be a good game. Better second half, obviously. The first one was a little bit on the slower side, but the second half in the first 5 minutes starts off with the Van Dijk header, goes up 1-0. Japan equalizes not that far afterwards, and the Netherlands again find a way to go back up 2-1. Towards the end of the game, the Japanese players find the late equalizer through a header of all places, right? Like, they're playing a team that's significantly taller than them. Japanese players don't tend to be that tall. If anybody was expecting an equalizer, I don't think anybody expected it to be from a header, but props to them. The Japanese players showed resilience, and they kept fighting to the very end. I personally thought that when Japan pressured and they were actually trying and going on the attack, that they were the better opposition over the Netherlands. The Netherlands left a lot to be desired. I don't trust their attack. Gakpo didn't impress or anything on that left wing. Somerville did what he had to do in the second half, but he was quiet throughout the whole first half. Again, I don't know if they were just choosing not to play through him or he just couldn't make things happen for himself, but I really wasn't impressed by their attacking line. Yeah, Van Dijk is an amazing defender. We know what he is. We know how solid he can maintain the back, but it's their attack that I don't trust. Japan, again, when they really went out for it, they really proved that they can compete toe to toe with just about anybody. And I wouldn't put it past Japan to making a run too. I see them making it to the quarters. I generally do. If luck favors them, if everything goes their way and they play their style and they can keep the back line protected and stay disciplined in defense, I can see them getting to the quarters. As for the Netherlands, I don't see them getting past the round of 16th, if I'm being honest. I don't see them getting far, and the round of 16 might even be a stretch. They are making it out of this group, but there's a good possibility they might not even make it out of the first knockout game. Ivory Coast and Ecuador. I think this was a better game than most people gave it credit for. Yeah, I know it was 0-0 for the majority of the game, and the game winner came in the 90th. But let's not forget that Ecuador hit the post 2 times, and Ivory Coast hit it once again in the second half too. These teams were back and forth attacking. Yeah, the scoreboard doesn't reflect it, but there was plenty to be excited about this game. My biggest takeaway from this game that I said in my original video, and I'll keep saying again, Yan Diamande, this man is a game changer. He's so young, but you could tell that the pressure at the moment, it doesn't phase him. He is the true definition of a game changer. And if he can stay like this, if he can stay locked in, connected with his teammates, I could see him being the factor to getting the Ivory Coast out of the group stages for the first time, I believe, in their history. I don't believe the Ivory Coast has ever qualified out of the group stages, and I could see him playing a factor in them getting out and even winning the first knockout game. Yeah, I don't really see them going far, as I do see tougher opposition. They're going to give them more of a fight, and they're definitely going to get that win over them. But possibly they can get that first knockout win, which would be huge for them. It would be huge for them just to get out of the group stages, which I have no doubt in my mind that they will do. Ecuador, I like their defense. I like their midfield. I don't trust their attack. And at Valencia, too old to be leading that attack. He should not be the main starting striker. Maybe that's just what they have. He's probably just the best quality that they have, and there's nothing better there. But yes, defense wins games, and they say, it wins championships. But in the World Cup, I don't think that can get you too far. I still see them possibly, getting out of this group, but I don't see them winning a knockout game simply for the fact that they don't have an attack. I don't see them getting that far. Sweden and Tunisia was a game that I had said, I didn't really expect too much out of. Sweden impressed me. I did not expect them to score 5 goals. I didn't expect them to get a win. I generally was expecting a draw between these two teams from everything that I saw from Tunisia leading up to the World Cup and from everything that I saw from Sweden. I could have even seen Tunisia grabbing a win from the Swedes. That's what I was expecting going into this game. I was surprised, and Tunisia manager got sacked the next morning. So maybe there was some shady things going on behind the scenes. I saw some things online of the formation was something that had not been practiced with. It was players that were playing out of position. Again, I'm not going to claim I know too much about Tunisia ball, but this is just the things that I've seen online. If true, maybe again there was some foul play behind the scenes, and that's why this score line ended up being 5-1 in favor of Sweden. I still stand firm with what I said, though. I don't see Sweden really making a run in this tournament. Yeah, that first game they blew out Tunisia, but once they face real opposition, more intense, more stronger opposition, I see them coming back down to reality. Tunisia, nothing else to be said from them other than last of the group. Moving on to Spain and Cape Verde, my first big disappointment, Spain. Wow, I saw Spain originally as one of even the potential winners of the World Cup. They couldn't break Cape Verde. I know we see upsets like this regularly in the World Cup. We saw Saudi Arabia beat the champions Argentina in the previous World Cup to open it, but if you saw that game, Argentina were persistent. I know they got to go through a penalty, but they were still persistent. They scored some that were offsides, maybe some dubious calls there, but I saw nothing of note that made me fear Spain. Spain could not find a way to beat Cape Verde, and props to Cape Verde. They played their game. They were strong and solid defensively. They didn't let the Spaniards find any open spaces. And Rodri came out and said, they didn't generate anything. Rodri, come on. You guys are Spain. It's Cape Verde. It's not on them to play at your level. You have to find ways to truly break down a team like that. If you can't do that, if we can't trust you to find spaces against a nation like Cape Verde, can we trust you to win the World Cup? I don't think so. I I generally think Spain's gonna be the first big upset in this tournament. Maybe Lamine Yamal can turn it up, and he finds rhythm and gets going, especially once they get out of the groups, and he leads them to a run. But don't be surprised if Spain loses the first knockout game or in the round of 16th, whichever one, whenever they have to face off against a real strong opponent. That's when they're going to be put to the test. And if we see what we saw from them again, and the opposition makes it hard for them, I don't see them finding a way to truly break them. And in my eyes, they're more than likely going to be the first big upset of this tournament. And props to Cape Verde. Nothing else to say about them. I don't see them getting out of the group still, but I am happy for them for getting that draw, and for Vozinha for that amazing performance he had against Spain. Belgium and Egypt, both teams left a little bit more to be desired. I did like Egypt more. Belgium disappointed me. They really didn't attack as much as I would have loved to see them attack. They didn't really generate or get things going. Egypt was the better of the two. If these two teams do to their opponents what they have to do, Egypt will top this group. I don't see either of these teams really making a deep run. But if I had to put my faith more in one team, I'd say Egypt goes further in the tournament than Belgium. Then moving on, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. Saudis get the goal in the first half. Uruguay is persistent throughout the game. I didn't like their game. They were persistent, but I still didn't like their style throughout all of it. They looked desperate towards the end. They got that late equalizer. Two teams, again, I don't see really making any noise or putting up any fight in this World Cup. Saudi Arabia gets grouped. Uruguay wins one knockout game, maybe two, but they don't get they don't get further than the quarterfinals, if they even make it that far. Iran, New Zealand. I'm gonna be honest. This was the first game that I truly missed, and I'm sorry I don't really have a exact recap over anything or my thoughts of what I saw from them. I didn't watch this game. I just saw the goals on the highlights. From what I've seen and what I've heard, it turned out to be a better game than expected. Regardless of how good the game was, two teams that I still don't see getting out of the group, or even if they do, getting eliminated in the first knockout game. France and Senegal. First half, nothing happened. France wasn't creating anything. If anything, Senegal had the opportunity to go up twice at the end of the half, if I'm not mistaken. I know there was a Nicholas Jackson strike to the post towards the end off a counter, and then after that, there was another play that just gets skied over. So they had two chances to go up that they didn't capitalize on. But when you have a game changer like Mbappe on your team, who's looking to be one of the all-time great World Cup performers, he rises up to the occasion. We've seen it at the 2018 World Cup where he came up as a champion, as the previous one where he came up as a runner-up but still scored a hat trick in the final and played a crucial part to getting his team there. He started off with the brace, and that second goal, what a strike from outside of the box. That first goal was a nice pass in, and he finished clinically in front of goal, but that second strike from outside of the box, that half turn, barely even had the ball, barely even let the Senegalese fans celebrate their one goal that they got. But Mbappe's a game changer. I still see France as one of my potential favorites to win it all. Senegal, I see them getting out of the group. I still see them getting out of the group either in second or as a better third place team, but they'll win a knockout game, but they don't get further than the round of 16th. Iraq and Norway. Iraq, they held their own for the majority of the game. In a way, I think the 4-1 scoreline is a little bit deceiving from what really happened. I do think, before the first goal, Norway were the better side, but after that first goal, Iraq just looked better for a lot of aspects of the game. They equalized the game, and they were unfortunate to go down 2-1. Yeah, you have a monster like Erling Haaland playing for Norway, but that second goal was a very, very bad mistake by the goalkeeper. Like, you can't do that in the box, especially not when you have a striker like Erling Haaland in front of you. Like, come on, you can't be doing that. But the other two goals came from set pieces. The third one did. Then they got their fourth one in off headers right there. They're taller. They beat them in the air. Norway did what they had to do, but Iraq still held their own. I still don't see either of these teams really getting far. The only thing that I could see for Norway helping them get far is because of Haaland. I put Haaland on that same level as game changer as an Mbappe, as a Messi. Players that can resolve games for you. If Haaland is clicking and he's firing on all cylinders, yeah, he can push for a deep run for Norway, but I don't see them getting further than the quarterfinals. That's the furthest I see them going. But again, he has to be locked in. He has to be firing on all cylinders. If he's not in, there could be even a good chance they. I don't think they get group, but they definitely don't make it out of the first knockout game if Holland isn't firing on all cylinders. Argentina and Algeria. Messi, hat trick. What else can you say? This is the definition of a game changer. He's a World Cup winner. He tied the all time World Cup goal scoring record with Miroslav Klose. He's gonna break it. Him and Mbappe are gonna break this record, and then after it'll just be 1 week. What every single game we're gonna be seeing a new all time leading record holder. They're just gonna be breaking it one after the other. I do believe Messi's gonna finish with the all time record by the end of this World Cup, but that won't last long because I am positive if Mbappe doesn't win at this one, he's gonna break it on the next one. Messi, game changer though. I will say he did deserve to get sent off. Kind of dubious that they didn't even go look at VAR or anything about that play that he had with the studs up. In my eyes, I truly do believe that was a red, but hey, that's in the past. What can you really do about it? Messi got a hat trick, his first ever World Cup hat trick. The keeper was a little bit sus with his decision making in the first goal and the second one. First goal, I do believe was savable. The second one, he just did a terrible job clearing that out. Third one, yeah, you can't put the blame on him for that one. That was a Messi masterclass strike from outside of the box. With Messi on their squad, yeah, Argentina is one of the favorites, and they are going to make a run in this tournament. I don't believe they have the same firepower to win it all like last time. I see them getting to the semis, but I don't see them making it to the final this time. Messi magic can only work so well for so long. Austria 3-1 over Jordan. Not much more to say. I didn't watch this game. I don't really have a recap or have any knowledge of how well these two teams played. Do apologize. I will have to skip this one. Portugal and Congo. What a defensive line by the Congolese players. They held their own. They held Portugal in. John Neves gets his goal early on in the first couple minutes. But other than that, Portugal didn't really have anything to show for themselves. Ronaldo really, really disappointed me, and he's starting to look like a player that just can't turn it up at the World Cup when it matters more. That doesn't take away from everything that he's done at club level. He's still one of the greats, and if not, one of the all-time two greatest players of all time. Like him and Messi, I don't care if you put them one or two, you could switch between the two. Those, to me, are the two greatest players we've ever seen, and we will ever see. I don't believe any player will ever come on their level. What they accomplished throughout their careers. They're just the two greatest to ever do it. Again, though, Ronaldo doesn't really show up at the World Cup as you would like him to do. He's never really been that guy other than that game against Spain. That's really the only memory that I have of him ever actually having a great performance in the World Cup. But Portugal left a lot to be desired. Props to the Congolese players. They did what they had to do. They played well defensively. At times there, I even thought they were going to get the win. They looked like every single time they were going on the counter, they could get a goal, especially with the Portuguese keeper, Diogo Costa, I believe is his name. He gave me a lot of nervousness for the Portuguese fans. Like, I didn't trust him in goal. I just saw him a little shaky, a little wobbly with the ball. I don't trust him being the keeper of a team that wins the championship. And I don't see Portugal getting far in this tournament. They might win a knockout game, but they're not getting... The furthest they're going to make it is around the 16th. They're not making it past that round. England versus Croatia. Great game from start to finish. England was persistent. England was the overall better team. Croatia got a stunning strike from outside of the box from Baturina to equal it after going down 1-0. But once England retained the lead again, yeah, I know Croatia got the equalizer again going into half, but you just knew that after England went up 2-1, they weren't really going to lose this game or lose points in it. Starting off the second half, in the first minute and a half, Jude goes on a beautiful counter attack that ends in a goal. And they just weren't gonna ease up from this game. There was just no way Croatia was gonna beat them. Croatia just feels too old, too slow. They couldn't compete. They couldn't keep up. And I do believe that the 4-2 scoreline is a little deceiving when England could have hammered Croatia. This could have been a way better game for England goal-wise. Now, their defense did look a little shaky. There are some things that I didn't like about them. Conceding the 2 goals. The first goal, I'm not gonna put it against them. That was a beautiful strike from outside of the box. Second goal, defensiveness, I feel could have been a little bit better and could have been handled differently. England, though, I don't know if I trust the players to make it far. England has that reputation of them that in Spanish you'd call pecho frio. The lights are too bright. I don't know if they can live up to the moment. They'll win a knockout game here and there, but they're not. The furthest they'll get is the quarterfinals. They are not making it to the semis. Croatia, I just think it's too old. They're too old. It's time to pack it up. Nothing left for them. They might make it out of the group, but they're not winning more than one knockout game. Ghana and Panama, a game that could have gone either way. Both teams deserve to get the win or even a draw. You know, you can't really be upset over the result. Late game winner, as we've seen with a lot of these games already. Panama played great. It was a little bit hard to see them lose the game. I think, you know, a draw would have been fair, but you really can't be upset when Ghana also was deserving of a win. Both teams, I still don't see them getting far, but they both showed that they are able to compete at the highest level. Then to finish off with Uzbekistan and Colombia, Colombia looked shaky at times. You know, it looked like they didn't want to risk too much in fear of, you know, getting countered and then having a goal or two against you to go down early. But when the time was needed and they needed to truly do what they needed to do, they got the win. Again, Colombia still doesn't move me as much. They're going to get out of the group. Uzbekistan, I can't really say the same about them, especially after what I saw from them yesterday. Cannavaro looked nervous throughout the whole game. I mean, if your manager's looking nervous like that throughout the whole game, can you really trust him to, you know, lead your team together through the rest of the tournament? I don't know. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. But from what I saw yesterday from Uzbekistan, they're going to get grouped. Colombia, they're going to get out of the group. They're going to win a knockout game here or there, but they're not making it past the quarterfinals if they can get there. And that was the recap for all of the games of round one. We've had a lot of great games. I still think that the best is yet to come. Hopefully we see an even better quality of level in the second round and going forward, especially in the knockout stages where I know is where we all want to see the games. If you did like the video, please like and subscribe as that would mean a lot to the channel. Hopefully I catch you again on the next one.